I can offer you something no client ever has.
What's that?
Loyalty. I will cut you in on the success and pledge my life to protect yours.
Living with the Tuscans has made you soft.
No. It's made me strong. You can only get so far without a tribe.
We've talked a lot about Star Wars: The Book of Boba Fett, but we've yet to talk about Fett's controversial approach to building his criminal empire. Many Star Wars fans feel that the bounty hunter hasn't quite lived up to his reputation as a merciless, cold, and ruthless individual. Many think he's being too soft on his enemies while trying to build an army full of Mos Esper's most despised rejects. However, we're here to answer why we think Boba's strategy is actually genius.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Most of the criticism of Fett's strategy comes down to how he subverts expectations. Most people expect him to rule like any other crime lord and crush any who would stand against him. However, he doesn't. For one, he makes it clear he doesn't like the Hutt's gluttonous lifestyle. He walks on his own 2 feet, and while Jabba rarely left his palace, Fett believes that he should make his presence known personally, frequently patrolling the streets in his territory. He even resolves disputes himself, as seen with the Mod Gang in Chapter 3. He's also seen as weak because of his merciful attitude to those who would want him dead. We talked in a previous episode about how his decision to keep 2 Gamorrean guards has proven to be a pretty good one, and in Chapter 4, we got to see him finally recruit that once great Wookiee gladiator, Black Chrysanthemum, whose life he had spared earlier after Chrysanthemum tried to assassinate him. Despite appearances, however, Fett's insistence on being proactive and merciful is actually part of a calculated strategy to help him secure his position as a daimyo. Fett's insistence on being proactive and merciful is actually part of a calculated strategy to help him secure his position as daimyo. To get a few things out of the way, let's discuss the context of Boba Fett's ascension to the throne. The events depicted in the Book of Boba Fett happened around the same time as the events of The Mandalorian, which takes place 9 years after the Battle of Yavin. In that time, the Empire has fallen and the New Republic has become the new de facto galactic government. While Boba Fett may have gotten away randomly executing those who opposed him under the Empire, too much bloodshed, in theory, could attract some unwanted attention from the New Republic. We saw a similar attitude with Din Djarin, as he avoided New Republic patrols and generally wanted nothing to do with the new government. Even Garsa Fwip tells Chrysanthemum that these are more civilized times in a more civilized place. With the fall of the Empire, many corrupt Imperial officials on Tatooine would have lost power and influence, and as Fett put it, power hates a vacuum. Those officials were no longer in a position to accept bribes or extort businesses, and in the chaos that followed the Empire's end, opportunists and profiteers would have tried to take advantage of the situation. The watermonger, for example, charged a month's wages for a week's worth of water until Fett told him to lower his prices if he wished to continue operating in this area. This was also why gangs like the Nikto speed bikers and syndicates like the Pikes vied for control of Tatooine. They were especially encouraged by the death of one of the most powerful crime lords in the galaxy, Jabba the Hutt. Jabba's death created a power vacuum. The central point to Boba's genius strategy is a change in the philosophy of how a daimyo should run his crime family. He has repeatedly expressed to Fennec how Jabba ruled by fear and he intends to rule by respect, much to Fennec's frustration. But by ruling with respect, Fett hopes his subjects will admire him and work with him not because they're afraid he'll kill them, but because it's in their best interests as well. This change in philosophy didn't come overnight, mind you. Being trapped inside the gut of a Sarlacc and being left for dead in the desert can really make you rethink your life choices. Fett is a survivor and he sees his time on Tatooine as a shot at redemption for what happened to those he saw as his family. He was given a second chance by the Sand People and shown mercy even after he tried to escape. He spent a long time with the Sand People, even teaching them how to ride and eventually take down that Pike train. He could never have done that on his own, and in an honest discussion with Fennec, he laments at how many jobs could have been avoided and how many lives could have been saved if their clients just cared a little more or even bothered to think. As any minimum wage worker knows, your boss can be unbelievably stupid. Fett was tired of how other crime families would make decisions not based on logic, but on emotions. Fennec claimed that Fett's time with the Sand People made him soft, to which Boba replied that, on the contrary, it made him strong. The Sand People taught him to live with the land and to respect it. They taught him how to fight and how to forgive. In his old life, Boba never cared about anyone but himself. Now he finds himself trying not just to build the tribe, but to build a family. He then offered Fennec something that credits couldn't buy: loyalty. He pledged his life to protect her own. This is a huge departure from most bounty hunter characters in the Star Wars universe. Most would never want to stick out their neck for someone else, especially someone they would consider subservient to them. In this way, Fett acts more like a hero and earns the respect of all those who work for him, from the Gamorreans to the Mods to the Rancor and Wookiee. They all know that Boba would risk his life to save theirs, and in turn, they pledge their lives to him. As a freelance bounty hunter, Fett saw the need to take a more professional stance, and he clearly still sees that need, even saying to Chrysanthemum that it's just business after the Wookiee nearly crushed him to death. When dealing with other families, he says how he doesn't trust them, but he knows their hunger for credits was more than their hunger for blood. Greed, it turns out, won out over open war. Fett makes an effort to make as few enemies as possible, even hosting a dinner for 3 other families in Mos Espa to ensure their neutrality in the impending conflict with the Pikes. As the Hutt twins put it, war is bad for business. By acting like a businessman, Fett is able to use the greed of others to win them over to his side, or at least prevent them from going against him. As a former gun for hire, he has a unique perspective on how to run the business of a crime family, and knows that executing people regularly isn't a sustainable business model. At the end of the day, Fett doesn't see Tatooine as a zero-sum game where any wealth gathered must be taken from someone else. Rather, he sees it as a positive-sum game where he can increase the pie and everyone's profits. As Sun Tzu says in The Art of War, all warfare is deception, and appear weak when you are strong and strong when you are weak. Boba Fett appears to be following Sun Tzu's playbook perfectly. By portraying himself as weak, Boba has tricked his enemies into underestimating him and setting themselves up to fail during battle. Boba's strategy of ruling with respect is certainly unorthodox on Tatooine, but it also sets him apart from the rest of the daimyos, which makes him someone to watch out for. In a world full of scumbags, backstabbers, and lowlives, being evil and ruling with fear is easy. By choosing to be honorable, Boba Fett has chosen the difficult path, thus showcasing his true strength. So that's our thoughts on why Boba's strategy is actually genius. But what do you think? Would you want to rule by fear or by respect? Let us know all that and more in the comment section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.